Tonight, when the media party is actually in the wedding party. It's November 12th, and you're watching The Ezra Levant Show. Why should others go to jail when you're the biggest carbon consumer I know?
There's 8,500 customers here, and you won't give them an answer.
You come here once a year with a sign, and you feel morally superior.
The only thing I have to say to the government about why I publish it is because it's my bloody right to do so.
Welcome to the program. I'm Ezra Levant. See, I always thought that the CBC was biased towards Justin Trudeau for ideological reasons. They're left-wing, he's left-wing. I thought it was also for reasons of class. They're Eastern Canadian elites who prefer Trudeau because he's one of their own kind, a spoiled trust fund playboy, as opposed to a middle-class Calgarian like Stephen Harper. And most of all, I thought it was for pure financial self-interest. Justin Trudeau promised the CBC a $150 million success fee if he won the election, pretty much a taxpayer bribe to thousands of journalists. While every other media company in Canada is laying off hundreds of employees, Trudeau offered every CBC employee a job guarantee if he won. That's what I thought, because that's what we all knew. So when Peter Mansbridge spent half the election campaign grilling Stephen Harper about Mike Duffy, but giving Justin Trudeau softball interviews and fanboy-style coverage, it wasn't particularly surprising. It was unseemly for a government broadcaster to be so partisan, but then again, it was unseemly for the CBC's Journalists Union, the Canadian Media Guild, to register as an official anti-Harper campaign group with Elections Canada. But look, I don't think the network of Jian Ghomeshi really cares what people think about its bad behavior as long as it gets paid. But then yesterday, an independent muckraking journalist named Jesse Brown, who helped expose Jian Ghomeshi's predations of the CBC, well, Jesse Brown dug up a home video on the internet. Let me show 20 seconds of it to you. It's a personal video, a home movie of a luxury wedding at an Italian villa. The wedding was between two elite Ottawa insiders, Kate Purchase, who is Justin Trudeau's top spin doctor, and Perry Tsurgis, another Ottawa insider, a former Liberal operative who now works for Katie Purchase's dad, Bruce Anderson, at an Ottawa PR agency called I2. Here, I called it a home movie, but it's actually much more gorgeous and artsy than any home movie you've ever made. It looks sort of like a Lana Del Rey music video, because these are the beautiful people. Take a look at this dreamy wedding music video for 30 seconds and tell me if you spot anyone special making a cameo appearance. That was Peter Mansbridge there. I don't know, it looked like he was actually officiating at the wedding or something in Italy. I mean, he wasn't just a wedding guest. He was what, the priest or something? I didn't know that CBC journalists had the power to officiate at weddings, but there he was. Wow. The objective, non-partisan anchor of Canada's state broadcaster, the man we all trust to play it straight, to be neutral, to cover elections even-handedly. He jetted to Italy to officiate at the wedding of Justin Trudeau's communications director, Katie Purchase. It puts things in a whole new light. Take Mansbridge's fawning, obsequious, 24-minute suck-up to Justin Trudeau the other day. Did you see this? I won't call it journalism. Just take a look.
Remember your first time going up, sir?
No, I think my dad made us take the stairs.
You remember this?
Oh, it's totally different from when it was as a kid.
Wearing the same tie?
Yeah,
that'll
never
slightly
work.
different color.
I'm going to take a lot of crap for that.
yeah.
How do you handle all this? You know, like what comes with the job? The limo, the arm, bulletproof, bomb-proof, whatever it is. How do you handle that? Because that's not you.
We'll see.
Great. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Next hour, will we play something?
Appreciate it.
Okay. We're on a bus heading up Parliament Hill. So it has that symbolism, I guess. It's not limos, it's bus. Very good. All right, you got it.
Good Lord, just get a room already. Seriously, it was so gross that even other journalists who love Justin Trudeau just couldn't control their gag reflex. All of a sudden, that didn't just look like a reporter who was our advocate, our guide into the world of Trudeau. Now we see it for what it really was, though. Peter Mansbridge had a deep, private, personal connection into Trudeau's world, his inner circle. And yet, Mansbridge was pretending that he was awestruck for our benefit. But he wasn't an outsider getting a peek inside. He was a Trudeau insider, pretending to be on the outside looking in, pretending to be a journalist, but he's really a PR man. I mean, read this from Mansbridge's diary, written with all the dignity and restraint of a junior high school girl who just got to meet Justin Bieber. It's his diary called How the Nationals' Justin Trudeau Access Doc Came Together. Peter Mansbridge says he appealed to Liberals' openness and transparency pledge to gain access. Really? Is that how it happened? Here, get this. Here's how Mansbridge described his bold journalistic attempt to crack the fortress of Trudeau's media operation. Let me quote. Ready? The same weighing of risk and reward almost certainly occurs inside any Prime Minister's office when the access request lands on the desk of the Director of Communications. Yeah, wow. I wonder what Kate Purchase, the Director of Communications, would say to Peter Mansbridge, the man who jetted all the way to Italy for their luxury wedding, when he made an access request to her. I'm going to say, she said, yes, but only if you make it dreamy, like our wedding movie was. To which Mansbridge obviously said, no, not that dreamy. It will be dreamier.
Are we wearing the same tie? Yeah,
That'll never
slightly
work.
different color.
I'm going to take a lot of crap for that.
Yeah.
Let me read a bit more from Mansbridge's fan diary. Quote, I had been trying hard since election night to get inside the new PMO as it went through transition from contender to government. Yeah, I bet that was hard for you, Peter. Quote, I played the you talk of openness and transparency, so prove it card. Well, that actually seemed to curry some favor, at least with some in the inner Trudeau circle. When the person they call the boss signed off, it was a go. Earlier this weekend, away we went. The person they call the boss, eh? I guess it would be a bit weird for Mansbridge to have actually written my friend Katie instead. I love how Mansbridge ends his diary before he closes it up and locks it with a little key and kisses it and puts it under his pillow at night. He wrote, does it signal that the new government will truly be open and transparent moving forward? It's a large ask. Prime Minister Trudeau says he believes it's the right thing to do, unquote. Look, there's nothing illegal about Peter Mansbridge being close, personal, family friends with the Director of Communications of the Liberal Party, now the Liberal government. There's nothing illegal about it at all. I don't even think it would be unethical if it were disclosed to viewers, so people would know about Mansbridge's personal interests and could therefore discount his giddiness and pro-Trudeau bias. I think that if Mansbridge had disclosed that publicly in advance, the CBC might have made the decision to have someone else do the feature interview with Trudeau during the election in the park that day, rather than Mansbridge. I think the CBC might have had someone else chair their election panels on the National instead of Mansbridge. It would have just looked too cozy otherwise. But would the CBC really do that? Really pull their top man out of the game? Really their only remaining talent now that Jian Ghomeshi is gone? No. Jesse Brown, the reporter who publicized this wedding video, contacted the CBC's head of public affairs, Chuck Thompson, the same crisis manager the CBC put on the Ghomeshi scandal. Thompson told Brown, quote, there was no conflict of interest. Oh, well, then no problem, right? The Ghomeshi guy says everything is okay. Kate Purchase herself told Brown, quote, we have always been very diligent in keeping our personal and private lives separate. Really? But Purchase told Brown she, in fact, did help arrange Mansbridge's Cinderella carriage ride with Trudeau. Look, spin doctors are going to spin. Is this a problem? As always, swap out liberals for conservatives and you tell me. What if, say, the great Lloyd Robertson of CTV fame had secretly, without disclosing it to viewers, flown to an exotic resort destination to preside over the wedding of the disgraced conservative couple, Dimitri Sotis and Eve Adams, when Sotis was Stephen Harper's director of communications. And Lloyd Robertson didn't tell anyone and had deep personal relationships with both of them. Would anyone believe that Lloyd Robertson's reports on Dimitri Sotis and Eve Adams, when they made news, would be fair and objective reports? And when the news leaked out later about the wedding, would the rest of the media party just shrug their shoulders and say, oh, no big deal, it's a private matter, as most of the media have done with this Mansbridge scandal? As my friend Manny Montenegrino put it on Twitter, if I was a hockey player and refs kept blowing the whistle on my team and rarely on the other, and then had drinks with the other team, I'd stop playing hockey. But Manny, look, the whole thing is rigged. I mean, the wedding is just the aha moment. Take this guy, Bruce Anderson. He's Kate Purchase's dad. You can see him walking the bride to her wedding. Mazel tov. He runs a government relations firm in Ottawa, including an ad agency representing many controversial industries that are in the news and covered by Peter Mansbridge. So how did Bruce Anderson end up on Peter Mansbridge's marquee political panel called At Issue? I understand why Chantal Hébert is on it. She leans liberal, but she's smart, she's independent, and she's a famous journalist in her own right. She's probably Canada's most read journalist, appearing both in Quebec newspapers and in the Toronto Star. So I get it, having her on. And then there's Andrew Coyne. I mean, he leans liberal, and he's related to Justin Trudeau, too. His cousin had a child out of wedlock with Pierre Trudeau. Ottawa is a very incestuous place. Everyone's drinking each other's bathwater, but at least Andrew Coyne is a journalist in his own right, widely published and read. And then add Bruce Anderson to that mix? A hired gun? Just some guy with a small ad agency pushing government relations clients? It really didn't make a lot of sense, did it? One of these things is not like the other. And what a conflict of interest. He was the father of the Liberal Communications Director, Katie Purchase. But he was pretending to be neutral on a political panel? What a laugh. Until you learn that his daughter is Kate Purchase, of course, the woman Mansbridge helped marry, and that Kate Purchase's husband, Perry Turgis, works for Anderson at his ad agency. It really doesn't get any cozier, does that? How can the CBC justify having the father of the Liberal Director of Communications on the panel for so long? He's not a journalist. He's not independent. It was always weird. Now it's not weird because they're all in the family. Here's some comedy. Jesse Brown contacted the CBC and Purchase in advance of publishing his story. As you can see, as I showed you, the CBC dug in saying, oh, there's no problem. Purchase dug in saying, there's no problem. I mean, liberal ethics, CBC ethics, same diff. But look at what Bruce Anderson did. He immediately quit the CBC's At Issue panel. Here's what he wrote. He said, when Mr. Trudeau was the leader of the third party, I felt that the risk of a real or perceived conflict was limited and manageable. But I do feel that with the election results on October 19th, the risk is different. The conversation during the At Issue panel is regularly a discussion of how the government of the day is doing, including its communications effectiveness, unquote. Oh, really? So during the election campaign, it was no problem that he was the dad of Kate Purchase, Trudeau's communications director. And even with the election and after the election, it was still no problem. And even during the swearing in and the choosing of cabinet, it was no problem. But the day before Jesse Brown's revelation comes out, suddenly it's an ethical problem. Look, I don't believe he suddenly came down with a case of ethics. I believe he was just finally caught. That he and Peter Mansbridge and Kate Purchase and Perry Turgis and I2 Communications were all close family friends. And that's the CBC. They hide their conflicts of interest. They cover up problems like Ghomeshi. Here's one example. To this day, they have another Liberal activist, Jonathan Kaye, on their second-tier farm team political panel run by Mansbridge's ex-wife, Wendy Mesley. Oh, it's always a family affair at the CBC. Jonathan Kaye, as you know, secretly took cash to ghostwrite Justin Trudeau's campaign autobiography and hid that fact from National Post readers when he was comment editor there until it was revealed publicly by others. So every day when he was working at the National Post as the comment editor, he made decisions about what would run in their comment pages about Justin Trudeau, while he was being paid under the table to write Justin Trudeau's campaign book. That's unethical. And he didn't admit it until he was outed, just like Peter Mansbridge and Bruce Anderson were outed. And now Kaye is on Wendy Mesley's CBC show and called a journalist, but he's never introduced as Trudeau's paid ghostwriter. But hey, it's the CBC. I mean, what are you going to do about it? Cancel your subscription or something? Enjoy your $1 billion a year in taxpayer subsidies to them. What are you going to do? Well, we've got a petition to sell the CBC. Please sign it at SellTheCBC.ca. Now, I know the Liberals would never sell the CBC. I know that. I mean, why would Katie Purchase ever want to stop Peter Man-Crush from using the state broadcaster as a Liberal mouthpiece? Man-Crush has been very, very good to Trudeau's team and to Katie Purchase and to her dad, Bruce Anderson. The Liberals are going to repay the favor 150 million times over. Stay with us. More ahead.
We've heard you loud and clear. You can't get enough Canadian conservative news and opinion. Why not check out our blog? It's all your favorite conservative bloggers together on a page called The Megaphone. Go to TheRebel.media/TheMegaphone or click on the Megaphone menu from our main page to check it out.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Ezra Levant. Well, I'm delighted to have our next guest with us, Patrick Brown, the leader of the Conservative Party, the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario. Great to see you.
Well, it's great to be on your show.
Well, thanks for coming here in our little studio. I've been watching the Ontario race, but I think like a lot of Conservatives, it's been on our back burner politically as the federal election happened. Now that that's sort of tamped down, tell me, what have you been doing since you became leader of the Ontario PCs? First of all, when did that happen for our viewers outside of Ontario?
Well, the election was May 9th. I came from the federal level, and so I resigned my federal seat. We had a by-election where I entered the provincial legislature. The Liberal government put everything except for the kitchen sink into the by-election. They failed miserably. We won by a resounding amount. And frankly, we're excited provincially. Our membership's gone from 10,000 to 80,000. We are young, we are diverse, and we want to get Ontario back on track in 2 years and 8 months.
Well, I'm hopeful because I live in Ontario now. I like to call myself an Albertan in exile, but I am a Torontonian now. I pay the taxes. I suffer the regulations. I see my power bill going up every month. Every year. It's crazy. Can you tell me, do we have hope here in Ontario? It's almost like it's tough to remember a time when Dalton McGuinty or Kathleen Wynne weren't in power. Tell me reasons for optimism.
Well, I really think that there's lots of reasons for optimism. Right now, the government's at its 71% disapproval rating. It's one of the lowest points that you've seen the government in their entire time in office. All public opinion suggests that people are thirsty for change. And why are they thirsty for change? We have among the highest energy rates in North America. We have 354,000 regulations. We're a haven for red tape. Recent report says we're the most indebted subnational government in the world. And I think people in Ontario are saying, Kathleen Wynne, we hoped that she might have been different, but it's more of the same broken policies that we saw under Dalton McGuinty. And we as progressive Conservatives are now getting ready to present a positive alternative, how we can make Ontario prosperous again.
Now, I acknowledge that Stephen Harper was 9 years in office. He had campaigned 3 or 4, I think 5 times actually by the end. There was fatigue setting in, and that was a factor. But I also observed 2 things that I'm worried will come after you. Number one, an enormous number of third-party or NGOs, as you might call them, campaigning against Harper. There was almost 100 sort of third-party registered campaign groups, including many public sector unions. And second of all, I found that the media's own bias, they weren't even pretending anymore. Are you worried about both of these two things being thrown at you, third-party labor union groups and the media?
Well, you know, I would say, first of all, it's very unusual for a prime minister to win a fourth term, and certainly there was an appetite for change. We're finding a similar appetite for change on the provincial level. The government at Queen's Park has become entitled, complacent, lacking new ideas, and in terms of third-party groups, historically that's been their crux of what they've went back to. But I think even that is being exposed. Recently we had a scandal that emerged at Queen's Park where the government was caught red-handed, giving payments to teacher unions, taking money out of the classroom with no expectation of expenses. One teachers union actually said they never asked for payments, never expected payments. There was
no receipts even. It was almost like a brown paper bag full of bills.
Well, the first is almost comical, except for the fact it's taxpayer dollars, money that's supposed to be in the classroom. And the first response the government said was, you know, this isn't money going from the classroom into political advertising because they ballpark expenses. It's for pizza and hotel rooms. I don't know. First of all, no one bought that in Ontario. Well, I don't know if the pepperoni is gold-plated and if they're staying at the King Eddie, but no one bought that. Then it came out, our great finance critic, Vic Fideli, exposed that the government already spent over $1 million on hotels and food. So it's not for hotels or food. And the government all of a sudden said, well, this is business as usual. We don't ask for receipts. What small business in Ontario doesn't keep receipts?
Yeah, that's especially for $1 million. But let me ask you this. I've been in Ontario long enough. This isn't my first rodeo, scandal-wise. I've seen, everything from e-health to the natural gas power plants that were moved and shut down. Scandal after scandal, many of them in the billion-dollar range. And I'm worried that Ontarians are becoming numb to it. And they either say, I don't care, because the numbers no longer shock, or they say, well, that's life in Ontario now. Is the outrage trickling down to severely normal people, or is it just the political?
I really believe it is. And what's interesting is normally when there was outrage, it was more conservatives being upset. Now we're seeing actually, even the Toronto Star wrote an editorial saying this was unjustifiable and the government has no grounds to stand on.
They'll come back around when the Liberals win election.
But you know what, though? Everywhere I go in Ontario, people are telling me they've had enough of it. No wonder we're seeing polls that have the Liberals so low right now, is because people are thirsty for change. And frankly, it's disrespectful to taxpayers. I think that's finally hitting in. When you take money out of a classroom and get caught red-handed to use it for your own political purposes, no one in Ontario supports that.
Now,
well, maybe the Liberal Party headquarters does.
Yeah, well, for sure. You're fairly new in the provincial legislature, the provincial parliament. Obviously, you were a federal MP. Your first private member's bill. Tell me what it is and why you chose that to be your first debut legislatively.
Well, one of my real senses in Ontario is that we're overtaxed, that the government shakes you down in every aspect. You know, when you buy a cup of coffee, you get taxed. When you have a home, you pay property taxes, you pay income taxes. Every aspect of life, you get taxed in this province. And then I realized that not only do we have this massive burden of taxation, but Ontario has the highest death taxes in Canada. You know, an estate in Ottawa, a $500,000 estate would pay $7,000 in death taxes. In Hull, it would be $65. So I said to the legislature, shake people down, but don't shake down people in their coffins.
Yeah.
And I just want
taxes. This is combining the two. You get a website?
StopDeathTax.ca.
StopDeathTax.ca. What can people do with that website?
Well, we're trying to build support. We want the government to hear that there's an overwhelming amount of people in Ontario that say, we don't want this. Enough is enough. And already thousands have signed the petition, and I will be presenting it at Queen's Park.
Do you have any chance of stopping this private members' bills? I mean, they got an outright majority. Any chance, or is this just flying the flag and saying this is where we stand?
If the Liberals would adopt this idea, I would be proud to compliment them and say, you know what? There's no monopoly in a good idea. Am I optimistic they'll do the right thing in the next budget, incorporate this? No, I'm not optimistic because they haven't shown a willingness to work with other parties. But you never know, and you got to keep trying because that's what families in Ontario expect of us.
Listen, I appreciate you coming by today. You're a busy guy. It's nice to meet you. I met you before in different situations. You were an MP federally. You're doing other things. You have a very important job right now. Not just Ontarians depend on your success, but the whole country. I remember growing up in the West. Ontario was the engine of the country. And if Ontario is a have-not province, that is a burden for people outside. It's important for Ontarians you win. It's important for Canadians that you win. I wish you good luck, and I hope you make us part of your circuit in the media. Come by occasionally from time to time when you've got news, and we wish you well.
No, we'd love to.
Right on.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Folks, stick around. More after these words.
Looking for the perfect gift? Did you know TheRebel.media has a store? Make a statement with a t-shirt. Have your morning coffee in a Fearless Travel coffee mug. There's even an Ezra Levant bobblehead. It's a one-stop shop for the perfect gift. And don't forget to pick up something for yourself. Go to TheRebel.media/store to find out more.
Welcome back to the program. We've talked to you before about Bombardier, the Quebec-based manufacturer that has been one of the largest recipients of corporate welfare in Canadian history. Well, they are back, as you would imagine, with this new Liberal government, and they are lobbying for a 10-figure bailout. Well, not surprisingly, the only taxpayers advocates left in Canada, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, they've got something to say about it. Here, take a listen to their new radio ad.
Montreal-based aerospace company Bombardier is losing money, and their high-powered corporate lobbyists are already pushing the new Trudeau government for a $1 billion taxpayer bailout. Well-connected corporate insiders asking for special favors from government? Talk about a slap in the face to everyday Canadians and their families. Call your Member of Parliament and tell them to say no to Bombardier's $1 billion bailout. We're the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and we believe tax dollars shouldn't be wasted. Taxpayer.
Well, welcome back, Aaron Wudrick from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, who joins us now via Skype from Ottawa. Aaron, I am so pleased that you're out there doing this. The Conservative government is now the Conservative opposition, and I don't think they're focused. I don't think they're on their game. They're still reeling from the election. It's fallen to guys like you to defend the taxpayers' interests, at least for the foreseeable future. Am I right?
Well, look, Ezra, as you know, there is a change in government, and so of course we expect there to be some time. The opposition is busy figuring out who they're going to have as their permanent leader. We don't even know when. And in the meantime, we will be here, as we always are, looking out for the interests of taxpaying Canadians, regardless of the stripe of the government in power.
That's the thing. You guys are non-partisan, so you held the Tories to account, and you're doing it with the Liberals. I'm just worried there's going to be so much more work for you now that the Liberals are back, because they love that company, Bombardier. Give me the statistics, Aaron. How much money has Bombardier liberated from taxpayers over the decades?
It's almost hard to tell. There's so many giveaways to them. Over the last 50 years, by our calculations, they received somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.2 billion. That's just from the federal government alone. That doesn't count anything they've got from any of the provincial governments, or in some cases, even foreign governments. They have a subsidiary in the UK. They've received several $100 million there as well. So this is not a one-time instance for Bombardier. They are serial offenders. They are always coming back to the public trough for more. Never seems to be enough. And so we're saying, hey, this new Liberal government says they want to bring real change. Well, a great way to have real change would put a stop to this kind of corporate welfare giveaway that taxpayers just can't afford.
The other day I was talking to our viewers about the Porter Airlines, which is a little commuter airline based in downtown Toronto. There's this island airport in just south of the downtown in Toronto. It's great for people who don't want to schlep out to the international airport. They want to extend the runway by a few hundred meters to have these larger Bombardier whisper jets, they're called. My point is they made I think it's a $2 billion order for new jets from Bombardier. And that's how it's supposed to be. Private sector money. Go make your money in the open market. But the Liberals are contemplating stopping that runway expansion. So here's the weirdness, Aaron. On the one hand, you've got Liberals considering giving $1 billion to Bombardier as a handout. On the other hand, you got a real $2.3 billion commercial contract. Like, that's real money. It's private sector money. And the Liberals are actually considering blocking it by saying you can't expand the runway. I have this fear, Aaron, they're going to do the worst of both worlds. They're going to kill the real business deal and give him $1 billion as a handout.
Well, that's exactly it, Ezra. I tweeted about this earlier saying I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I mean, you have what looks like a perfect solution. You have a strong, profitable company in Porter. They want to buy Bombardier jets. They placed an order. They have an option for even more, by the way. And yet Bombardier can't sell jets. And you've got folks like Adam Vaughan, the local Liberal MP, who, because of NIMBYism, don't want to allow these new jets to fly out of the airport. I mean, it's crazy. They're going to stop a bona fide business order, or at least they may, and then turn around and want to bail Bombardier out. It makes no sense whatsoever. We certainly hope they don't take that path. Haven't made any decisions yet, so we're certainly going to continue in our campaign to try and convince them this is a very bad idea.
Now, Aaron, I'm not sure if you know, but our viewers love to do things via crowdfunding. You know what I mean? People chipping in $5, $10. That's how we built our whole studio, by the way. Is that what you're doing to get this ad out there? We played it off YouTube. Are you guys looking to get this ad on actual radio stations too?
Yeah, actually, we did today actually launch on some select stations across the country. It's not a huge campaign on the radio yet, but we'd certainly like it to be. We'd like to expand it. So, of course, at our website, taxpayer.com, we are raising money for this ad, and we certainly appreciate the support. As you probably know, we are a nonprofit. We receive no government handouts whatsoever, and we do not issue tax receipts, unlike political parties. There's no subsidy whatsoever. We have to get donations to stay in business. Well,
you're a man cut from the same cloth as me, Aaron. I mean, we don't get government subsidies. We can't issue fancy tax receipts. Like, we're not a charity. We're not a political party. But we have survived based on the support of our viewers. And I'd like to encourage our viewers. I regard you as an ally, Aaron, and there's too few people fighting against this tidal wave of spending and taxation that has washed over Canada. So let me say to our viewers, if you believe, as I do, that we should not get back into corporate welfare, and if you believe that we have to support third-party NGOs, that is, non-partisan forces for smaller government, I think we should all chip into taxpayer.com. So, Aaron, thanks for coming to make the case on TheRebel.media. Good luck in your campaign for this radio ad. And we'll keep in touch. In fact, I'm going to Calgary in a few weeks to speak at a taxpayers conference called Generation Screwed. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Great campaign we've got for young folks all across the country, talking about all the debt that governments have been piling up that they'll have to pay off. So it'd be an excellent event for you.
Yeah, and folks can find out about that at taxpayer.com. I'm going because I believe in the cause, and there are so few conservative groups out there left. We've got to stay together, and we've got to give each other support. So I hope to see you out there in Calgary. Aaron, great to talk to you. Folks, stick around. There's more after this short break.
So open-minded that the brains have fallen out.
What's the point that you're making?
The point that I'm making is that if you're going to propose a massive overhaul to the way the economy is developed in terms of carbon tax, cap and trade, other forms like that, it helps to have some science that is in fact settled.
Time for viewer feedback. Conservative Canuck tweets, Ezra, show 2 was even better than show 1. Looking forward to shows 3 and more. Keep up the good work. Hey, thanks very much. On a technical level, we're trying to improve every day. Sometimes it's a trial and error thing. We're still working on the audio a bit. On the content side, every day we're going to try to have great commentaries and great guests. I hope the show will become a must-do visit on the media circuit for public opinion leaders, especially for conservatives. Lori Rigg writes, I am so pleased to be watching intelligent news again. Such a relief. Love, love, love the Ezra Levant Show. Hope Brian Lilly starts soon. Awesome news about Faith Golding. I'm so impressed by your creative and resourceful resurrection of my favorite TV channel, Sun News Network. Hey, thanks, Lori. We got to be careful not to expand faster than our revenues allow. By that, I mean we have to be careful not to spend more money than we have. If I had my way, we'd have 8 hours of content a day like a real TV channel. We will be incremental, though, and keep listening to our viewers. Faith is going to start later this month with a weekly show. Brian Lilly and I have spoken about him doing a show out of Ottawa. We haven't pinned down the details yet. We need a technological solution, but I hope we'll get that before the end of the year. Each show doesn't just need a host, though. It needs a producer to help put it together. It needs an editor. It needs someone to run the hardware, the technology. But we will get there, I promise. Group stuff, tweets. The Rebel, Ezra Levant, great show. Sound quality improving, except promo ads blast loudly. Please keep their volume the same as that of the show. Thanks for the feedback. We'll keep working on the audio and we'll adjust the sound of the ads. Richard Wakefield says, suggestion, you need another menu item to link to a page containing all these live broadcasts so we can binge watch them. Hey, that's a great idea. A place on the website. I think that's how people watch a lot of news these days, watch a lot of Netflix these days, so why not do it with news commentary? I will tell our tech guys we can tweak the website now. We're looking at doing a total website overhaul, call it version 3.0, in a couple of months, so we will see more significant changes then as well. One housekeeping matter. Yesterday, I showed you an image of Sikhs in the British Army fighting in World War II. Unfortunately, the image we put on the screen was incorrect. Those were not Sikhs in the British Army in World War II. These are pictures of Sikhs who fought with the British Army in World War I and World War II. And I wanted just to correct that record. A keen-eye viewer brought that to our attention. One more thing, if you're as mad as I am about the Peter Mansbridge secret wedding officiating for high-ranking Liberal communications directors and not disclosing that, sign our petition at SellTheCBC.ca. Look, I'm not saying that Peter Mansbridge can't have a man crush on Justin Trudeau. I'm saying if he keeps secret his deep personal relationships with senior communication staff of the Liberal Party, he's hiding relevant information that should be disclosed to his viewers. And the fact that Bruce Anderson, who was weirdly on the ad issue panel of Peter Mansbridge for so long, stepped down on the eve of Jesse Brown's story blowing the lid off this, shows how weird and unethical it was. Of course, the Liberals and the CBC never blush. What makes me the maddest, though, is not even Peter Mansbridge's own behavior and the Liberal Party's behavior. I mean, Leopard's not going to change its spots. It's that the rest of the media was, so what? That's not a story. Could you imagine if it was Lloyd Robertson secretly officiating at a high-ranking Tory wedding and then doing news about those same Tories? You know the media party would have been outraged. Anyways, sign SellTheCBC.ca, and we'll fight back as hard as we can, although we don't have their billion-dollar budget. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Tune in every weekday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Of course, you can watch these shows on demand anytime. So if you miss it, you can go and watch old stuff. It's not really old stuff. I like to say it's always good. Folks, have a great night. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.